Yeah, here we go. Well, I guess that should be changed now to yeah, we're going home. Sorry, Dak. I had to do it. I had to do it. I had to. This is Sports Central, part of the Closing Tag Network, and this is probably the sixth Sports Central drop in the last 2 weeks. Counting the what if scenario from yesterday, but that was more of a me being me thing. So before I get started on a recap of the wild card round in the NFL playoffs, I did want to mention that yes, I am familiar and aware that the Detroit Pistons are actually trying something. Yeah. So the Detroit Pistons a few days ago traded Marvin Bagley, Isaiah Livers, and I think a couple second round picks to the Washington Wizards for a couple sharpshooters in Danilo Gallinari and Mike Muscala. Now, I don't have a problem with this trade. The Pistons need to do something. Right now, they're on track to be the worst team in NBA history. So, them trying at least something is commendable. But you're adding more shooters. You already have two shooters. You already have Bojan Bogdanovic and Joe Harris, two of the very best. And you're adding an aged, over-the-hill Danilo Gallinari and Mike Muscala? Huh? The only thing that I can think of that this would accomplish is that this is now going to give rookie Osar Thompson all the ability that he needs to pretty much take over as the leader of the Pistons, because right now Cade Cunningham is not that guy. Joe Harris is not that guy, and apparently my cat is playing with stuff in the background. Nothing of importance. Cade Cunningham is not that guy. Bojan Bogdanovic is not that guy. Joe Harris is definitely not that guy. So we need to try at least something. The Pistons need to try at least something to shake things up. And this is a good way of shaking things up. The only thing that I can think of that this might lead to is that I don't think the Pistons are done trading yet. I mean, yeah, the trade deadline's in a month, but I suspect that they're going to try something else. They're going to try maybe a move to trade for somebody. So, something to keep an eye on. But let's get into wild card weekend. So we're going to go AFC first. We're going to go the 2-7 matchup, 3-6 matchup, 4-5 matchup in the AFC. And then we're going to flip it. And there's a reason I'm doing that. In the NFC. So we're going to go 4-5 first, 3-6 second, 2-7 last. So the 2-7 matchup in the AFC saw the Buffalo Bills defend their home turf successfully against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Final score 31-17. Mason Rudolph for the Steelers threw for 227 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Josh Allen threw for 203 yards and 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. But that's not even the thing to take away from this. The thing to take away from this is the running game. James Cook was cooking. No pun intended. 18 carries, 79 yards. Josh Allen wasn't doing too shabby for himself either on the ground. 8 yards or 8 carries and 74 yards. That's 9 yards a carry, roughly. Other than that, there wasn't really anything of like, oh my god, this is amazing type of play. I mean, I saw brief highlights of the game itself. My immediate reaction to this was, God, that Steelers running defense is bad. Now, the immediate fallout from this, I would imagine, would be the Steelers are going to have to figure out a way to improve their defense. Mason Rudolph is a decent quarterback. He's probably just marginally better than Geno Smith. But that's, again, not really saying a whole lot. He's definitely not a Josh Allen. He's not a Joe Burrow. He's not, Matt Stafford or Jared Goff. And I'll get to Matt Stafford here in a bit. But he's not bad either. He's not Drew Lock. So I think if you build more of the offense around Mason Rudolph, give him a decent offensive line that can protect him, and give him a defense that isn't going to fold on the opposing team's running game like origami, you should be fine. Meanwhile, the Bills are going to maintain their home court advantage for one more round, and we'll be facing the winner of the next game that I'm going to be discussing, which will be the number 3 Kansas City Chiefs and the number 6 Miami Dolphins. Kansas City took advantage of the Antarctic type weather and won the game pretty handedly, 26-7. I don't think the final score indicates just how much of a beatdown this was. Keep in mind, Miami has been dropping 30 and 40 notes on other teams all year. And the Chiefs held them to 7. 7. And if you look at the stats, it's not that hard to see why. The running game was basically non-existent. Raheem Mostert only carried the ball 8 times and only ran for 33 yards. Tua Tagovailoa, I'm butchering his name. I'm sorry. I'm just going to call him Tua, because that's what everybody else calls him. He completed 20 passes from 39 attempts for 199 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. So definitely not putting up the MVP level numbers that he's been putting up for the last 17 weeks. The Chiefs, however, gotta love these stats. Patrick Mahomes, 262 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Isaiah Pacheco, again, butchering names, 24 carries, 89 yards, and a touchdown. That's pretty damn good. Rashee Rice may have basically put his stamp on the NFL's receiving core. He had 8 catches, but he had 130 yards off those 8 catches. I'm no math expert, but I'm guessing, more than 15 yards per catch? That's pretty damn good. And someone else that I guess we probably shouldn't be surprised by this point, that also put some pretty decent numbers up in the receiving game, Travis Kelce, 7 catches, 70 yards. That's pretty damn good. And the Okay, then. That's interesting. I'm going to have to look at that later. Sorry, doing work stuff. Um, yeah, Travis Kelce. So someone was putting the idea out there. What if the Chiefs made the Super Bowl and had to face the Detroit Lions? And I'll get to why the Lions here in a minute. But yeah, I'm just gonna drop that teaser in the middle of this. But anyway, Chiefs are moving on to the next round. They'll be facing the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. So the question remains, and this is something that I'm going to be very keen on watching in this matchup on Sunday, is will the Chiefs defense have a better time of stopping the Buffalo rushing offense? That's going to be key. We already know the Chiefs know how to play in cold weather. That's without dispute. I mean, look at the stats. 89 rushing yards for Pacheco. 130 catching yards for Rashee Rice. Are we sure it's not Jerry Rice? Anyway. So that's going to be good. There's no immediate fallout. I don't think Miami's going to do much this offseason in terms of coaching changes or anything like that. Now, granted, if Bill Belichick or Jim Harbaugh or somebody like that were to extend out feelers to certain teams throughout the league, they might have a hard time saying no. But I don't think Miami is going to be one of those teams that they reach out to. I think the coaches that are currently there are fine. Tua, despite all the backlash from all the fans and all the trolls online, he's going to be fine. This was one bad game. He'll be fine. He's still a young guy. Patience, young grasshopper. So moving on to the 4-5 matchup, we've got the Cleveland Browns and the Houston Texans. Houston put a beat down on the Browns, 45-14. Whoo! And that's how Joe Flacco ends his career. Wow. So for Flacco, he had 307 passing yards, 34-46. He did not do terrible. He actually did really good. 307 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. The 2 interceptions are what killed him. The rushing game, the lack of a rushing game, also killed him. The top rusher for the Browns on that game was Kareem Hunt. Been a while since we heard that name. 8 carries, 26 yards, and a touchdown. That's it. There's your 2 touchdowns right there. Flacco threw for 1. Kareem Hunt ran for 1. Oh, Kareem Hunt also caught for 1. Never mind. But David Njoku, wow. I'm butchering names left and right today. I am not in the right frame of mind. Had 7 catches for 93 yards. So, pretty decent. The Texans, however, CJ Stroud, 16 completions on 21 attempts, 274 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I'd say that's pretty damn good. Devin Singletary practically ran right over that Browns defense. 13 carries, 66 yards, and a touchdown. Nico Collins, 6 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown. Brevin Jordan had the 76-yard touchdown catch that just opened the floodgates for the Texans. My best guess would be that um the Browns are going to be doing some soul searching, not just with Flacco, but also with their entire roster. Keep in mind the Browns still owe the Texans 2 first round picks as a result of the trade for Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson has not played hardly at all this year. Flacco was only brought in because all the quarterbacks for the Browns were injured. So there you go. And now you have to think the Browns are going to be looking within themselves, looking at their roster, and just thinking to themselves, what the hell are we going to do? I'll tell you one guy who's going to be available very soon. And he's not too shabby a quarterback. As my phone goes off. Probably more work-related stuff. Yep, it is. Okay. Deal with that in a minute. But yeah, I think the Browns are going to have some serious soul searching to do. And the Texans, in the meantime, are now on their way to Baltimore and a matchup with the Ravens. I think that's going to be CJ Stroud's official welcome to the NFL kid moment. And not in a good way. Sorry, kid. All right, moving on to the 4-5 matchup in the NFC. I've been saying it for weeks now. Something is wrong with the Philadelphia Eagles. They started 10-1, and then the wheels just completely came off the tracks, losing 5 of their last 6, and make this 6 of their last 7. Final score, Tampa Bay 32, Philadelphia 9. Yeah. Jalen Hurts completed 270 passing yards on 1 touchdown. The running game was practically non-existent. Devontae Smith had 8 catches for 148 yards. And Julio Jones, 3 catches, 22 yards. Yep. Meanwhile, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield. How's that for a blast from the past? 337 passing yards on 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Rashad White, 18 carries for 72 yards. The thing that really stood out to me when I was watching this game is just how god awful the tackling is with the Eagles. I don't know what the hell happened between the beginning of the season and recently, but the Eagles have completely forgotten how to tackle. That's just wow. Like, I've seen better tackling in Division 3 college football teams than what the Eagles were doing the other day. So, we'll see what happens with the Eagles. I suspect that heads are going to roll. The personnel, the players that they have there now aren't bad. Like, Jalen Hurts, despite everything that's been going on, is a really good quarterback. But that defense, oh my god, that defense is just terrible. Like, it didn't dawn on me until I was watching that game just how bad the Eagles have become. At the very minimum, the defensive coordinator's got to get fired. That's just terrible. Defensive coordinator is probably losing his job. The head coach is probably losing his job, which means the offensive coordinator is probably either going to get promoted or unemployed. And for Tampa Bay, they are now moving on to the next round, where they will face the winner of this game, the Detroit Lions and the Los Angeles Rams. And I'll explain why here in a bit. Lions 24, Rams 23. Easily the most competitive game of all of them. So Matthew Stafford, 367 yards, 2 touchdowns, including a touchdown to Puka Nacua. I don't know how to pronounce that guy's name. Puka Nacua? Anyway, he had 9 catches, 181 yards, and 1 touchdown. I can see why this guy is so damn good. Like, he found ways to get open that I don't think I've ever seen in a long time. That kid's got a bright future, regardless of who's throwing the football to him. There's rumors going around that Matthew Stafford may be thinking about retiring. And if that's the case, do you look at bringing in a Russell Wilson? Do you look at bringing in somebody from another team? Do you maybe think about, maybe moving up in the draft? Who knows? But Nacua, he's definitely got a bright future ahead of him, and the Rams have nothing to be ashamed of in this game. I think Sean McVay and the coaching staff there are going to be just fine. Meanwhile, for the Lions, Jared Goff, 277 yards and a touchdown. They had a pair of rushing touchdowns, one from David Montgomery, one from Jahmyr Gibbs. Ramon-Ra St. Brown, I hope I'm not butchering that name too badly, 7 catches, 110 yards. Josh Reynolds, 5 catches, 80 yards. So there's your 2 big boys from the Lions. And the offense wasn't really what, wowed me with the Lions. And it hasn't been the offense all season with the Lions. It's been that defense. Dan Campbell is an excellent defensive coach. And he showed it again this weekend. Aside from the fact that Nacua was basically doing whatever the fuck he wanted with them, Dan Campbell's defense definitely limited everybody else on that Rams offense and practically made the rushing game non-existent. So there you go. And the Lions will now be hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next weekend, and that is because of the result of this last game. I had to save this one for last. Green Bay Packers 48, Dallas Cowboys 32. The more things change, Cowboys fans? Yeah. So, Jordan Love, we've been heaping praise on guys like Goff and CJ Stroud and all these other guys. Jordan Love is not getting hardly any attention at all, and it's a fucking crime. 16 of 21. He was an incomplete pass away from a perfect game, quarterback rating wise. 272 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Here's the stat that blew my mind. Aaron Jones had 2 rushing touchdowns all year. 21 carries, 118 yards, 3 touchdowns. Romeo Doubs, 6 catches, 151 yards, 1 touchdown. Luke Musgrave and Dontavian Wicks, each with a touchdown. The Packers were basically, having their way with the Cowboys in the Cowboys' own home, and they didn't even bother bringing lube. Yeah, there's your graphic content there for the day. Meanwhile, for the Cowboys offense, Dak Prescott, 41 of 60, 403 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Yeah. CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup each had over 100 yards each, reception-wise. Jake Ferguson also had 93 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's where all 3 of Dak's touchdowns went. But those all came basically after the game was all but over. So that doesn't count. First of all, that defense had a terrible game. That defense could not stop Aaron Jones to save their lives. And that opened things up for Jordan Love. That opened things up for the passing game. And basically the rest is history. So what does that mean for everybody from the Cowboys side of things? I mean, first of all, the Packers, enjoy this moment while you can, because next week you get the 49ers in Santa Clara. Good luck. But on the Cowboys side of things, I don't think this means Prescott is leaving Dallas. There are going to be some changes personnel-wise or player-wise, but I don't think Dak Prescott's one of them. I think he's going to be fine. Jerry Jones loves his big-name quarterbacks, and Dak Prescott has definitely proven to be that. So he'll be fine. The coaches are pretty much done. I mean, Mike McCarthy is all but fired already. And I don't remember who the offensive coordinator is, but Dan Quinn, who is the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. First of all the people that are dogging Dan Quinn because of this game, I don't think that this should be an indicator of how bad his defenses are going to be. I think that, he made some mistakes. He, instead of sticking with what they know, instead of sticking with what brought them to the dance, the Cowboys coaching staff decided to just change everything up. I think if Dan Quinn had a head coaching role for himself in a town like, say, I don't know, just throwing this out there, Seattle. Just saying. I think if he had his own head coaching gig, he would not have made that same mistake. I think that directive came from McCarthy himself. So I think Dan Quinn's going to be fine. McCarthy is toast. He's done. And there's going to be a lot of changes in Dallas. Here's the problem. I've been saying this for 20 years now. And Cowboys fans You can hit up my mentions. You can hit up my email, raul@theclosingtag.com. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong in the comments. Tell me I'm wrong on YouTube. Tell me I'm wrong in the thing on Spotify, the reviews, whatever. But the bottom line is that every good or bad sports team takes their leads and takes their cues from up top. And that's not the general manager or the president or anything like that. They take their cues from the owners. Why do you think the New York Knicks have not been able to land a superstar player despite the fact that they are, the storied franchise that they are in one of the biggest media markets in the world? Why do you think the Dallas Cowboys, despite having superstar after superstar after superstar after superstar after superstar on their roster, guys have come and gone on that roster. Guys like Tony Romo, guys like Terrell Owens, guys like Ezekiel Elliott, and yet they have not made a single NFC Championship game appearance in nearly 30 years. Why do you think that is? It's not because the players suck. Well, mostly. Aside from that one stretch of time where Quincy Carter was your starting quarterback. It's not because they had terrible coaches. I mean, granted, Jason Garrett's not a good head coach, but he wasn't like dog shit either. Mike McCarthy, you could argue, had the benefit of Aaron Rodgers on his team for years, but he wasn't terrible. You don't get to 12-5 by being terrible. Just saying. It's because the owner can't get out of his own fucking way. I've been saying it for years. The minute that everything seems to be going just fine and he feels the need to throw himself out there, Jerry Jones is right there on the sideline, or Jerry Jones is right there front and center taking questions for the Cowboys, saying how great your team is, saying how great so-and-so is as a coach. So-and-so did a great job today with the offense. It's all about him. It's all about Jerry Jones. I said it a couple days ago in a Facebook post. The man's ego is so massive, it has a gravitational pull of its own. And the fact of the matter is, until Jerry Jones either A, sells the team, good luck with that, or B, relinquishes his title as general manager and brings in someone like a Bill Belichick who can orchestrate and construct the roster the way that he sees fit. It's going to be the same story every year, over and over and over and over and over. This is why at the beginning of the season, when the Cowboys were lighting everybody up, dropping 40 notes on everybody, and all of my relatives and all of my friends and everybody on Facebook was saying how this is finally our year, this is finally our year, and I kept calling bullshit on that. Why do you think that is? It's the same story again and again and again. Something you need to keep in mind. Both my mom and dad were huge Dallas Cowboy fans. I would listen to my mom ramble on for days talking about the greatness of the Dallas Cowboys, the greatness of Tom Landry as the head coach, the greatness of Roger Staubach, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, Tony Dorsett, one of the greatest running backs of all time. And then when I was old enough to actually appreciate football, I would actually see guys like Aikman, Irvin, Matt Emmett Smith, Deion Sanders, Charles Haley, all these guys, Darren Woodson, and they're winning Super Bowls. And then for whatever reason, right as Barry Switzer was starting to construct the roster the way he saw fit, which I think was a cue from Jerry Jones, because they were winning with Jimmy Johnson's roster, not with Jerry Jones's roster. The minute they started tweaking with that roster was when everything fell apart. Jerry Jones is not a football guy. He just isn't. He's an excellent businessman. He's an excellent, marketing genius. There's a reason the Dallas Cowboys, despite the fact not having won shit in the playoffs for 30 years almost, is still one of the highest valued teams in professional sports. It's not because of anything they've done on the field, I can promise you that. It's because Jerry Jones is an excellent marketing genius and a savvy businessman. I take nothing away from him on that. But as a football person, as a guy that constructs rosters, he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. As a guy that lets coaches coach without micromanaging them, he can't get out of his own way. He can't help himself. He has to be constantly in the coach's ear. You need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this. Why do you think Bill Parcells left when he did? He couldn't handle it anymore. And that's when they brought Jason Garrett in, and that's when, the whole litany of bringing coaches in that will do what Jerry Jones wants them to do, that's where it all started. And I don't think it's going to end. Yeah, Mike McCarthy's going to take the fall for this. But this is not his fault. This is not the fault of a guy that was in way over his head as a coach. This is the fault of an owner who can't get out of his own way, can't stop micromanaging coaches to death, and can't let someone who knows what they're doing, who has football knowledge and experience, make football decisions. And until that changes, you can put up 12-5 records in the regular season. You can drop 40, 50 points a week on everybody. But come playoff time, every single time, this is the end result. 48-32, Packers moving on to San Francisco. I'm sorry that it hurts. I'm sorry that, Cowboys fans, Honestly, I feel bad for Cowboys fans. Because you have to put up with this shit every single year. I mean, as a Jazz fan for years, believe me, I sympathize with you. All the years, all the regular seasons saying, oh, this might finally be our year. This might finally be the year that we take that next step. And it never happens. You get your hopes up and you get excited. It's like, yes, finally, we're finally going to do something. And then nothing happens. You fall on your face. Again. In the playoffs. Again. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. I feel bad for you guys. I really do. I'm not trying to dog you guys for this. I'm not trying to sound like an asshole. This is just the reality of the situation. And until that reality changes, it's going to keep doing over and over and over. And I feel bad for Dak Prescott. I really do. From all accounts, the guy sounds like a really nice stand-up guy. But you know what they say about nice guys finishing last. You know, I hate saying that, but, Prescott at this rate is going to have just as many Super Bowls when he retires as Tony Romo did. 0. I honestly hope the Cowboys do let Prescott go. Let him go to a team like Seattle. Let him go to a team like the Rams. Let him go to a team that has an owner that knows what the fuck he's doing. And will let a guy like Bill Belichick come in, take over, completely redo the roster in his image. And take that team to a Super Bowl. I honestly hope he goes to a team like that. And not stays with a team that has a micromanaging owner that doesn't know what he's doing. Again, you can hit me in my email. You can hit me up in my mentions. All you want. 28 years. That's all I'm saying. It hasn't changed in 28 years. And you can come at me all you want with your, well, it would have been only 5 years if this didn't happen, or it would have been this, or yeah, if my aunt had a pair of testicles, she'd be my uncle. I'm sorry that I had to go on this little rant, but this needed to be said. I've been holding it back all year because I knew this day was going to come. I just knew it. I didn't expect it to happen against the Packers. I was thinking more like the Lions next week. But I knew it was going to happen. You can fire McCarthy. You can fire Dan Quinn. Let Dan Quinn coach the Seahawks. Do whatever you got to do to get everything out of your system. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. But again, you're just going to come back to the same spot this time next year, all over again. And hopefully next year, I'll be in a much better mood to say, you know what? That sucks, bro. I feel bad for you. Let's go get a drink. Let's go get a couple beers and we'll talk about it, you know? Okay. But in any event, we are now at 45 minutes on this podcast episode, so I am going to wrap it up right here and let you guys know that I did mention Spotify. Reviews are open on Spotify. Leave a review. We are going to be going away on Google Podcasts come April because Google Podcasts is going to be transitioning over to YouTube. So since these are being dropped on YouTube on the regular anyway, nothing changes on that front. Speaking of YouTube, like the video on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. That way, once a new video drops, you are the first to be notified. And as well on Facebook, like, share, and comment. And that's it. That's all. Thanks for listening to me ramble and rant about sports. Hopefully this is the last time I have to do it for a while. I'm in so much pain right now. You have no idea. So take care, Cowboys fans. I'll see you in a few months when the draft comes around. Yeah? Cool. Until next time that I grace you with my presence, remember to include your closing tags. Thank you.